This movie is very hard to judge. On the one hand, it deals with a very serious topic, but then there are also side events mixed in that blur the line between a serious movie and a typical Tatum wannabe comedy. The story revolves about two veterans. Both have suffered physical and mental injuries. One has not yet realized and admitted it to himself. The other probably can't because she's a dog. At the center of the movie is the travel to the former dog handler's funeral. On the way, there are a few scenes that take you out of the serious nature of this movie. This kind of ruins the potential the movie had. One scene plays in a bar where a random girl complains to a veteran army ranger about the toxic nature of soldiers, which is played with a straight face and without any further comments. So I don't really know if this was a general attack or a comment about how out of place a veteran must feel in such a higher class bar. Unfortunately, currently and over the last 2 decades, too many people found out firsthand that there's no such thing as a liberal trench, so it's kinda rich to complain to a veteran soldier about toxic masculinity. Then there's a Animal Are People 2 guy who wants to free the service dog, and while the most people who are active against animal cruelty are decent, there are a few Looney Tunes amongst them, and this is one of them. Of course, this wannabe hippie knows more about everything than the guy traveling with the girl, so he frees the service dog, and just like the main man himself warned him, she turns into a war hound and nearly rips the guy apart. Also, the dog tackles a man dressed in traditional Muslim clothing, and then Bill Barr stops by to charge the dog with a hate crime. In the movie, it must be pointed out that the dog only does what she was raised and trained to do, and the fact that it's needed to be pointed out in a dramatic speech is kind of ridiculous itself. And this is the frustrating thing about this movie. If you leave these scenes out or shoot them in a more serious way, this could be a really good movie. Because mixed in between these things are some really hard-hitting scenes that show off the trauma in both veterans. Channing Tatum and the dog show how this trauma unfolds and what effect it has. Both can't let go of what they were trained to do and the things they have experienced. For him, it seems some sort of night terrors with seizures, and the dog is triggered by noises and certain looks and movements. While the man tries to find his way back to the war zones, more out of habit it seems, the dog doesn't have the way out and just goes along with it. It is the dog trainer, played by Ethan Suplee, that links both veterans and the way into a future for them. At its core, it's a story about a man and a dog who are forced out of the only life they know, and there's no way back, even if he convinces himself there is. Unfortunately, I cannot find the dog's name, but Kimberly Andrews is the head dog trainer and she does a great job here. I name her on behalf of all those who worked with the dog and the dog himself. And these are the important scenes, so I will not talk about them in details, because if you want to see the movie, this is why. One problem is Channing Tatum himself. Not his acting, but in general he is too clean and always looks like a model. Which in The Lost City, it worked because there is a model. But here he should be a struggling veteran and he doesn't really bring that across. A better example is Ethan Suplee, and right away he's a really big surprise. Like most people, I'm guessing, I've seen him in Remember the Titans, American History X, and My Name is Earl. And he's always the big guy. And now he's shredded. What a transformation, and he brings across a struggling army veteran much better than Tatum. He looks like a man who has been through a lot and come out of the other side. Damaged but still standing. He is on the other side of the coin, the veteran who realized he needed help and asked for it, while Tatum is still not there yet. Also, Kevin Nash is in this movie, and he is the comic moment that fits. Like in John Wick and The Punisher, he has a role that fits him. This should have been the one moment where our veteran duo has a run-in with people who lived a completely different life. All in all, this movie is a missed opportunity. The topic of mental health and the fate of veterans is very important, and at times the movie deals with it in a fitting manner. But mix in are scenes that are so unnecessary that it ruins the tone of the movie. If you are a fan of Channing Tatum, then go for it. But other than that, you shouldn't go for this movie, at least not in the cinema. It's not a bad movie, but there's so much unnecessary filler that tries to be funny and loses his claim to be a serious attempt to deal with these topics. But it has its heart at the right place. I don't think they missed for lack of caring, you can see that they cared.